This one I'm calling Crimson Coast, and I've got Winsor & Newton paints and others. This is what I use. Liquid Clear by Bob Ross, Titanium White, Lamb Black, Phthalo Blue, Van Dyke Brown, Burnt Sienna, Alizarin Crimson, Vermilion Red by Masters Touch, Cad Yellow Pale Hue, and Cad Red Light. Okay, so I am starting out with liquid white all over my canvas. Very, very thin coat. And then I take a shop towel, blue shop towel, and I fold that in half and half again, and I wipe over the whole thing to take off the extra paint. You don't want too much of that liquid clear on there. It'll make your paint run. So now I'm going into a little bit of cad yellow and white, mixed a little bit, and I'm going to go just below center line and a little off center. It's not going to be right in the middle. It's a little bit off center. And I'm going to do some little X strokes. This is going to be where the brightest part is, where the sunset is. The sun is going down, and I'm making sun that's going to be slowly going down into the horizon. Then I'm going into alizarin crimson and a touch of black, and then I do alizarin crimson with a touch of blue also. And I'm just going around. I'm going to do the whole background there. Layer that with that alizarin crimson and phthalo blue. Little X strokes. Just blending that in. I don't go over the top of that yellow just yet, but that part's coming. I'm going to go all the way around and the bottom also with that alizarin crimson and touch of blue. Make sure I have a pretty good size coat there. I want it as even as I can get it. Because once I touch the red onto that, it's going to be beautiful. Okay, I've got two different kinds of red. I've got Cad Red Light, and I have Vermilion Red by Master's Touch. The Vermilion is a little bit lighter. And I'm just going to do little X strokes. I've got a small fan brush there, and I'm going around. And then putting some more of that Vermilion Red on the sides, top. Such a pretty red. Just blending that in. Taking my finger with a little bit of cad yellow and white. I want a pretty bright sunset there. So I'm putting a little bit of yellow on the sides. Okay, I'm going over the top of that. I will go back and do another fingerprint there. I just want to blend that as much as I can. With the two different reds, I'm going to go underneath that. And pull down a little bit. The whole thing's going to be, a lot of it is going to be this color. So I'm going to have some dark areas in there, so dark streaks anyway for the water. So for now, I'm just going to blend, working my way to the sides. And I've got a little more of that same combination on the brush, and I'm going to make some clouds. Background clouds with a dry brush. I'm going to go over that. A lot of blending in this one. Putting some more of that two-tone red there. Looks pretty orange right here, but I guess it is when it's mixed in with the alizarin crimson. So I'm going to try and dot in a little bit of a sun there. And I do go through a lot of different size brushes. Some work for me and some don't. So I just testing my brushes out till I get the right combination there to make the sunlight and the rays. So I'm dotting some yellow in there. I'll go back and I'll put my sun back in there. It's disappeared right now, but it's got to be a light area in there, a really light yellow orange. Okay, back into the cad red light. And I'm going to start making some clouds. Little circular motions using the corner of that fan brush. Must have a little dab of yellow on there, but I've got it straightened out here now. Clean dry brush, and I'm working underneath that cloud, making the bottom part more, more blended, softer looking. Because I will leave some high points on the top, but right now I'm just concentrating on getting the line of the clouds. I want it to go fairly straight across. And then after that, I'll start angling some of my clouds. So I'm getting the main part in, and I'm taking a clean dry brush, going underneath and blending the bottom part, lifting up a little bit, softening up the bottom edge. And I tap my brush too quite a bit because I want to make sure I don't have a lot excess on there. Otherwise, it's going to spoil your clouds. You want to have it fairly crisp and yet blended on the bottom part. See, it's kind of pretty there, isn't it? So I'm going to angle some up above that line. Same thing, putting a little bit of that vermilion and cad red light, mixing those together to get this beautiful red orange. Just angling my edges up, and I've got two brushes there, one with the red on and one that's dry. One that I use that for buffing, I call. Buffing the bottom edges out. So now I'm going to work on that middle section a little bit. Put some clouds in there, same color. And if you have a little too much on your brush there, I leave some of that for the highlights there. I'm going to work my way down into the water. Back and forth with the fan brush. Adding a little more. Oh, I got kind of a light spot there down in the water. Just kind of buffing that out. Blending. A little bit on the top part. You can have the sky any way you want. I'm looking at a photograph, And so I'm kind of mirroring, that image, changing it a little bit. Putting some dark areas in that burst of clouds there. I want to keep the angles kind of straight across, and then some of the clouds are angling up. And the top portion there is a soft, very soft. It's not as vibrant as the ones in the middle, but it's very soft. And sometimes you can't see it, but it's there. It's very, very light. Going to that vermilion, just tapping, and I have a little mop brush that I'm using. Normally I use it just to blend, but for really soft touches, I'll use that one. Putting some little extra color on the sides, and the edges. I'm gonna have a big old cliff on that right side, so right now I want to get all my clouds set just right the way I like them, and then I'll move on to my cliff. So now I'm going into a little bit of burnt sienna and Van Dyke brown. Okay, I'm gonna make it's the shoreline there, the shoreline that's gonna go up and meet up with the cliff. So I'm angling around in the bottom there. It's kind of it's a beautiful red brown, and perfect color for this sunset. So I'm going to keep my lines fairly straight because this is going to be the actual shoreline where the water's going to end. I'm going to have a light spot, a little brighter. I'll use plain old just vermilion right there. So I'm going to have a rock, a boulder down at the bottom, and I'm going to have the tip of that kind of go up into that light area so it'll show off a lot better. Softening with my little mop brush. Tapping and then just brushing it lightly. I'm going to go into a little black and brown, very dark color. And I'm going to put in a few boulders, some rocks. I'm going to put one right there, kind of into that light area, just the top of it. A little peak there. And then come down and form into a big rock. And you can put as many rocks or pebbles or whatever you want on this shoreline. I put a few in the front, which I'll show you, and then I take my finger after I get the top part. I just kind of blend in a shadow underneath that because the rock, will the sunset will cause a shadow on the back side. So that's why I use my finger rather than a brush. It blends a little bit more into the canvas. Putting in some more rocks and boulders. And like I said, you can really go crazy and put a bunch of pebbles and rocks in this painting. But don't forget to put the little shadows underneath. That's what kind of gives it the realistic look. So now I'm back into the burnt sienna and Van Dyke brown. I'm going to continue on with this shoreline, keeping the lines nice and straight. gonna bump up against this big old cliff that I'm gonna be putting in here next. So in the meantime, I'm creating my shoreline to go more to the right, and then adding a few stones or rocks as I go. Okay, so now I am working, I have the same color, but I'm just etching where the shoreline is going to end. It's going to stop right at the base of that big cliff. And then I'm going to pull some of that burnt sienna brown color back toward the center, just blending it over. Making sure that the lines stay pretty straight. So now I am shaping. I have the dark color now. I've got the black and brown mixed. I'm going to start putting in the base of that cliff. There's going to be rocks coming out into the shore, that shoreline there. And now I'm going to work my way up to about where I want to start to put that big cliff. I'm not going all the way to the top. I'm just going into that lighter area so you can see where that cliff starts. And then I'm going to slowly come down, shaping my cliff. And bring it down, and it's going to connect. It's just going to end up right on the shoreline. It's going to stop right there, and then I'm angling around where the shoreline stops. It's going to bump up right against the edge of that stone. But I'm just shaping the those stones a little bit that come out into the shoreline. So I've got a bigger brush, and I'm going to just start blending in that color, filling it in. And you can add a little bit of that lighter, instead of adding with brown, you can just do burnt sienna and some areas of light and dark into the rocks there. But it's such a uh, late in the afternoon, the sun's almost down, and so it's going to be a fairly dark. And I'm going to add some more stones in there. Just a little here and there gives it like a more realistic look. And you don't have to use your finger if you don't want to. You can use a nice soft brush to blend the bottom out a little bit. So now I'm going to go into a little bit of yellow, cad yellow and white. And the sun is coming down, but it still has a light reflection that's going to hit maybe the tips of a couple of those peaks on that cliff, just a little bit. And then down at the bottom where that rock comes up, I'm going to tap a little bit of a reflection on the edge of that stone. Now I'm going to add a little bit of reflection too with the sun reflection in the water. I don't know how that's going to look, but it's going to be on one side and then the other side of that shoreline there. And then I'll just take a fan brush and just kind of go back and forth and kind of blend it in a little bit. Just give it give it the idea that there is a little bit of reflection going on there. Going into a little bit of dark and darkening up the edge of that shoreline a little bit. All right, I'm going to put the final accent there on the water, and then I don't see a finished painting here. But I put a little bit of a wave there. Well, I love showing you this one, and I hope that you'll give it a try and paint it. Got any questions? Feel free to leave a message there. So until next time, happy painting and God bless.